What up, everybody? Chef Beardsley. This is gonna be kind of weird to start, but it's been a couple days. You guys seen what you say? You see the diffs. You're gonna see the shocks and probably the front end all in one video. I did make the rear end in a on a live because it goes together just like the front. The only difference is the diff case is a little different. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Then you just have to, obviously you don't have to worry about it having to steer. So, yeah, so in this episode, I guess you want to say, we're going to build, the only thing that's left for the rear is building the wing. And then we start moving forward from there. Looks like the next thing is going to be our throttle and brake servo setup. This is what I'm using for throttle and brake. It's the LOSI, the Reefs RC299 LP. The specs, if they would focus. Alright, well, you can't see that, but I'll put a link in the description for that. And this is my steering servo. I'll put a link in there for that too. So, as you can see, the aftermath of the other day is a mess. So, before I start recording and doing it live, because again, I'm doing these live if you guys want to follow along, I'm going to clean this a little bit, organize it, and then start up the live and we'll get to recording. Hey guys, so the next step is, like I said, the wing. You're going to need 4 16 mil screws. You're going to need 4 nuts. You're going to need these little hex shafts. And then the brackets that hold the wing on. These right here. So these actually get pushed through. I put one in through these holes. And then I normally put them over here and give them a press in. And then tap them in the rest of the way with the back of my screwdriver here. So I'm going to do that off camera here because it's going to rattle you guys around. So I'm going to put this one in. And then I'll turn you guys back on when I go to put these on. They're pretty self-explanatory. It tells you what hole to use that they recommend, and then you just screw them in. Before you put these brackets on, just pay attention. There is a little hole here that one of these nuts are going to go in later. So you want that hole facing out. There's a little cutout here that this little bump fits into. So you're going to put that in there like that, and then you're going to snug her down. Alright, so as you see, those are on. Super easy. Just don't go crazy because you are running plastic again. Get yourself a set of calipers if you're going to do a kit. I recommend, because they some of these screws are pretty close in size. So as if you might have noticed in the fast forward, I started to use one that was a little too long. So just make sure you get yourself a good set. These are like 35 bucks. You can go way more expensive, but for RC, these are perfect. I think they're Husky. Yeah, they're Husky. Yeah, so the next step is you're going to take this little nut here. And if you look, it's a nylon nut. So you're going to have the flat side of the nut facing up. And it just slides into this channel here. Just like that. Just like that. Yep, and that's just going to hold the nut still while you tighten on the top. Don't force it in. It goes in flat, like it's meant to hold the side of the nut. So when you tighten it, it won't spin on you. So just, if it's not fitting, just turn it a little bit. Don't jam it in there. And then there's 2 more openings here where the flat spot goes towards the truck, because this is going to mount on the truck this way. Like I said, next step is putting one of these on the wing. I'm sorry, this is escaping me what this is called, but you get 2 different sizes. This one is a little bigger, has a bigger lip here, catches more air. This one's a little smaller. I'm going to put the little smaller one on there because I'm going to use it for bashing, and honestly, you really don't even need to run this if you don't want to, but I'm going to just because it's here in the kit. And then along with that, you're going to need 4 of these little screws that are 6 mil. Like, I don't know if that even gets picked up on camera. That's how tiny it is. So I really recommend getting a mat or something to put your screws in, because you drop that, it's going to be real fun trying to find. And then these are the nuts that they go on there. That's a little bruise I have on my hand. That is the nut right there. Hey guys, just getting screws ready for the next step. But if you guys don't know this, when you're measuring screws for your kit, when they're round top screws like that, you measure this way from the bottom here to the end here, and then that's your size. So this is a 12. And then if they're flat top like this, it's just a flat top, you'd measure it this way. Like, you would clamp from the top to the bottom like that. Okay, just so you know. So if it's a round top, you measure from the inside right underneath the top, and then when they're flat top like this, you literally measure from the top to the bottom. All right, so your next step is to mount this onto the rear end. This has plastic under it because I wasn't here for a few days and the bottom of the diff is exposed, so I just put plastic around it and put electrical tape on there just so some debris didn't get in there until I got back. So what you're gonna need for this step, you're gonna need 2 12 round top screws, 12 mil. You're gonna need 2 20 mil round top button top screws, and then you're gonna need 2 16 mil screws with the flat tops, and 2 of these aluminum caps, I guess you would call it, and the wing, and obviously the mount. So with this, the mount goes on this way, like this, and there's 4 holes here, and the first 2 screws I'm going to put in are the longer screws. Go from the outside in, and they go right into the top of the bulkhead, and then this is where we slid those nuts through, and then the shorter of the screws go on the other side and tighten it on that way. Alright guys, so the chassis support is on. Take this off. Chassis support's on. She's looking good. Wing is on. Everything's snugged up. Everything's good. So the next step is going to be one of the linkages for the nitro setup. If you guys look, let me make sure. In the instructions it says, because this kit can go nitro or electric, so you got to look and pay attention. If you're going electric, you look for the E, like this is going to be step F. So if you're going electric, you look for the E. If you're going nitro, you look for F number and then the N. So we're going to go N because we're going nitro. And yeah, so the first step is going to be setting up a little linkage. It's honestly just a little shaft and a set screw. Alright guys, so the next bag, like I said, I don't know how exciting this is going to be, but I haven't started building it yet, but you're going to look for bag F, and then like I said in the other video, or the other clip I should say, you see the F and F1N, that's for nitro. So you're going to do all the N steps if you're going nitro, and if you're going electric, you're going the E steps for electric, because this truck can go either way, which is pretty cool. So like I said, I'm going to build this little piece because literally that's all it is, and when we get to this part, I'll turn you guys back on and show you that. Alright guys, so this is the piece I was telling you about. It was literally just a set screw and this little arm, 5 mil sticking out. Close, I'm at like 4.8 something, but it's close enough for me. Then we're gonna, this is the servo mount we're working on now. Remember, if you're going nitro, you look for the N. If you're going electric, you look for the E. But yeah, this is looks pretty not too hard to put together. It's just gonna go up. You got these two collars, got a little clip here, one more set screw because you got to build another one of these, but the arm comes up through the servo mount. So I'm gonna do that. Alright guys, so I went a little bit overhead. Honestly, I just slid these in, what you guys seen, and then I put these two brackets on. Just pay attention which way they're routed. This manual is really good at pointing out like the crevices and stuff in plastics to show you which way they go, which I'm actually really impressed with. It's a phenomenal build manual. The next step is setting up the discs for the brakes and stuff because we are doing nitro. I already cleaned them up. I recommend, you see this stain on my towel in here? That just came from the brakes because everything comes lubed, and you do not want lube on your brakes unless you're RC guy. I use brake clean. You can use nitro blast, whatever you want, but I like brake clean. Spray them, wipe them down, clean them up, and try not to handle them too much. But you can wear gloves so your oils from your hands don't get on there. This is what it looks like with that plastic mount on there. Little C-clip on there. There's a little nipple at the bottom of these little black arms that go into the plastic that hold it still. And yeah, you just snug them down with the two screws. So now we're gonna hook up the brakes. Alright guys, so both brake pads are on, or all four I should say. Springs, they say you want like a 6mm gap. I'm close, I'm not too worried about it. We can always adjust it. I went ahead and did this step. It's not a big deal. It's just you slide these little pieces in there, you screw them in, good to go. Next step is going to be center diff and the brake pads. So I mean discs. Alright guys, obviously I haven't tightened them down yet, but it's literally just goes together just like that. Two long screws in the back, second to longest screw here, and shorter screw goes here. And I'm going to snug that all down, and that's the center diff and the brakes. Alright, so that's all built. Honestly, the next step was just putting this little arm on. Like, it was literally one screw, so I didn't bother showing you guys that. It's all snugged down. It's all good. I'm happy with the spacing on the pads right now. So next step is installing the throttle brake servo, which obviously isn't included. It is a kit. I'm running the Reefs 299 LP. I'll have it linked in the description. It's definitely going to be a really powerful throttle brake servo. It's going to be fast too, which is going to be sweet. Alright guys, so the throttle brake servo is installed. I had a couple little issues, nothing crazy. I have a weird size servo. It's not as deep as other ones, like tall. The manual calls for the spacer 2, but I had to use the 1s because I was having an issue with putting this block in here. If you notice, I shaved it down a little bit because it was hitting this wire, so the 1 doesn't raise it up as high, so that fits. And then if you look at this instructions here, there's a little lip there. I seen it in the TLR video. If you have a servo and you can't use that lip because it fits perfect in there, you just put the lip upside down against the servo and you still use the same bracket. So don't panic if that lip doesn't fit in there. You just flip it around and use it. It's fine. So yeah, it's in there, nice and snug. She ain't going nowhere. It's actually starting to look like something. There's the front and rear, center diff, brakes. Next is your throttle and brake linkages, and then your arm goes on there, which they give you the plastic one. I do have the aluminum one we're going to use, and we hooked those all up on there, and yeah, we're going to be all set. Alright guys, so I set up the linkages. It was super simple, just follow the instructions. These bearings are the smallest little bearings I've ever seen it go in here, but yeah, it looks good. So this part is going to go onto your carb, and yeah, you should be good. That's it. I did go with the aluminum arm. So the next step is We're gonna hook it all up on the center diff that we built, and that should be the entire center diff. That's the completed center diff with the brakes on there. Looks good, guys. It's super easy. These were no big deal at all. Nothing's completely tight like the servo horn and all that stuff, because obviously I have to center up the servo horn, so I'm gonna pull it off, or it's the servo, pull it off and make sure everything's centered up, and then I'll snug it down. But we're gonna obviously have to do some adjusting for brake tension and all that stuff, but that's later on. But yeah, I think that looks really, really good, really clean, beautiful. It's super simple. Next step. Next step is we get the chassis involved. Now we're cooking, ladies and gentlemen. So let me get the chassis out and we'll start actually doing something.